It's not your lack of attractiveness that makes you invisible. It's not your way of speaking. And it's not because women are complicated. What makes you lose power is something far more uncomfortable. There are silent rules that govern feminine nature, and you are breaking them without even realizing it. Every time you do, you don't just lose attraction, you lose respect. And the most dangerous part is that she never explains it to you. She simply reclassifies you. She turns you predictable, replaceable. At what exact moment in your life did you start noticing that no matter what you do, women lose interest without giving you a clear reason? And which behavior do you keep repeating even though you know how it always ends? Very few men are willing to face this question because it forces a brutal admission. The problem is not what you say or what you do, but what you project without words. And that cannot be fixed with lines, politeness, or good intentions. It can only be fixed by understanding the invisible architecture that defines your value before you ever get the chance to prove anything. Here is the real threat. If you keep believing that female attraction responds to logic, effort, or moral consistency, you will keep losing ground without knowing why. And while you try to do better, other men, with fewer words and fewer explanations, will occupy the space you unknowingly surrendered. What you're about to understand is not comfortable. It's not romantic, and it's definitely not socially acceptable, but it is real. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. These are 3 truths about feminine nature that operate even when she claims they don't exist. Ignoring them has a psychological cost: confusion, frustration, loss of masculine identity, and the constant sensation of always reacting instead of leading. The first truth appears before any bond exists, before conversation, before interest, before intention. First major revelation: selection happens in silence. A woman does not decide who you are when she gets to know you. She decides before you think the interaction has even begun. There is an invisible instant when your presence enters her emotional field. In that moment, her mind does not analyze, it does not rationalize, it does not listen. It registers. Your posture, your emotional speed, your internal stability. Most men fail here because they try to build value after they have already been classified. They attempt to impress once weakness has already been projected. They explain themselves after anxiety has already been detected, and that is why so many men feel confused when interest disappears. They didn't notice they lost in the first second. The urge to be noticed is a silent confession of insecurity. Talking too much, replying too fast, filling every pause, trying to justify your presence. Her instinct reads all of it as a request for approval. A woman does not react to your words. She reacts to the emotional movement behind them. If you arrive with urgency, she perceives need. If you arrive trying to prove value, she perceives insecurity. If you arrive trying to be liked, she perceives submission. That's why strategic silence is more powerful than any well-crafted sentence. Speaking less isn't about mystery. It's about emotional authority. The man who doesn't try to be chosen changes the entire emotional field. Not because he intends to manipulate, but because his energy is not oriented toward pleasing. Women are conditioned to expect men who adapt themselves to her desire. When she encounters one who remains anchored in his own center, something shifts internally. Curiosity emerges, and curiosity is the first stage of desire. Do not aim to be agreeable. Aim to be whole. A firm opinion carries more weight than any flexible personality built to impress. The first impression is a silent protocol. Posture, eye contact, cadence, the way you occupy space. A calm gaze communicates security. A pause communicates sovereignty. The absence of the need to impress communicates value. The man who controls the first moments controls the emotional terrain. He doesn't introduce himself, he establishes presence. Once the first silent classification is made, everything that follows is no longer neutral. From that moment on, every interaction becomes a test, not a conscious one, but an instinctive one. And this is where most men collapse without realizing it. They believe attraction is lost because of a wrong message, a bad joke, or poor timing. In reality, attraction is lost because the woman detects instability under pressure. Second major revelation: women test stability, not intentions, A woman is not primarily evaluating how kind you are. She is evaluating how solid you remain when your emotional comfort is disturbed. This disturbance rarely looks dramatic. It appears as delays, ambiguous responses, light provocations, subtle contradictions, moments where the ground feels slightly unstable. The average man misreads these signals completely. He assumes something went wrong, so he tries to fix it. He explains. He clarifies. He justifies. He increases effort. And the moment he does that, the test is failed. Because the test was never about correctness. It was about coherence. When you rush to restore harmony, you communicate something dangerous, that her emotional state has authority over your internal state. This is where power shifts silently. A woman does not lose attraction because you made a mistake. She loses attraction because you demonstrated that your emotional center is externally controlled. Justifying yourself is not maturity in this context. It is submission. Over-explaining is not communication. It is anxiety, trying to disguise itself as logic. When she challenges you, directly or indirectly, she is observing one thing only. Do you remain whole, or do you fragment? Fragmentation looks like nervous laughter, long explanations, defensive tone, rapid emotional adjustments. Wholeness looks like calm, short responses, unchanged posture, unbothered presence. This is why men who care less appear more attractive, even when they don't actually care less. They simply don't hand over their emotional sovereignty. Imperturbability is not coldness, it is self-possession. A man who does not emotionally chase stability becomes a reference point, not because he dominates her, but because he dominates himself. And dominance over oneself is the rarest form of power. When you remain steady while tension exists, something counterintuitive happens. The tension stops being a threat and becomes attraction. Why? Because tension is only dangerous when it destabilizes you. If it doesn't, it turns into polarity. Most men try to eliminate tension. Powerful men allow it to exist without reacting. That single difference changes everything. A pause before responding is not hesitation, it is command. A neutral face is not indifference, it is emotional discipline. Short answers are not disinterest, they are clarity. When she realizes she cannot shake your internal structure, her perception shifts. You are no longer someone to manage, you become someone to orient around. And this brings us to the third layer, the deepest one. Third major revelation. Attraction follows. Direction, not attachment. There is one behavior that silently kills attraction faster than rejection itself. Waiting. Waiting for her mood. Waiting for her approval. Waiting for confirmation. Waiting to feel safe before acting. Waiting places you below her emotionally. Even when disguised as respect or patience, waiting communicates that your life is reactive rather than directional. A woman senses this instantly. She feels when a man is orbiting her world instead of advancing through his own. And the moment she senses that, attraction collapses. Not because she wants control, but because there is no vector. Feminine desire does not move toward stagnation. It moves toward expansion. And expansion only happens in the presence of direction. Direction does not mean controlling her. It means not being lost. Leadership is not loud, it's subtle. It appears in decisions made without hesitation, opinions held without apology, movement without asking permission. The man who defers everything to her, where to go, when to meet, how to proceed, is not being considerate. He is revealing the absence of an internal axis. And without an axis, there is nothing to align with. This is why attraction fades even when things seem fine. She feels like she is pulling the interaction forward, and that exhausts desire. The paradox is simple. The less you need her validation to move, the more gravity you create. A man with direction does not perform masculinity. He lives it. He has projects that demand him, goals that structure his time, a trajectory that exists regardless of who is watching. He doesn't talk about ambition. It leaks through his decisions. He doesn't announce purpose. It stabilizes his energy. This is why potential is often more attractive than achievement. Movement matters more than arrival. A woman is not bonding to who you are today. She is responding to who you are becoming. If there is no becoming, there is no pull. This is where most men misunderstand attraction completely. They try to optimize the present, while feminine instinct evaluates the future. The man in expansion is unpredictable in the right way, not chaotic but alive, and aliveness is magnetic. When these three mechanisms align, silent selection, stability under pressure, and directional movement, something irreversible happens. You stop trying to understand women and start understanding positioning. You no longer ask, what does she want? You ask, what am I projecting? At that point, the dynamic flips. You are no longer reacting to signals. You are generating them. This is not manipulation. It is structure. Most men lose power because they operate emotionally. The few who gain it operate architecturally. They don't chase desire. They create conditions where desire emerges naturally. Once you internalize this, the confusion ends. The frustration dissolves and interactions stop feeling like negotiations. You become calm where others rush, grounded where others seek approval, directed where others wait, and women feel it, even if they can't explain it. This is the difference between being tolerated and being remembered, between being an option and being a reference, between being visible and being undeniable. From this point forward, the question is no longer whether this works. The question is whether you are willing to stop operating the way you always have. Because once you see these mechanisms clearly, continuing to ignore them becomes a choice. And every choice has a cost.